Hargreaves, chance for Torquay! Chris Hargreaves, the captain! If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells!
Hello, welcome to the latest Goals Eye View, brought to you by Galaxy TQ. Thank you very much for sponsoring us. Make sure you keep checking out that brilliant place. I'm joined by Dom.
Good evening, guys.
Joined by Chris.
Good evening, guys. Nice to celebrate a win.
Yeah. Tom's on holiday. Well done, Tom.
It was just a shock, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tom's probably drunk, to be fair.
Yeah, probably. Or sunburnt, one of the two. We'll go back to Saturday, though. Start on a miserable. Dagenham at home. Oh my, I'm not as angry about it now, obviously, but what a most stupid game, because Dagenham were the worst team I've seen, apart from us, at Playmore this season. Honestly, they were absolutely horrendous. The first half, was just, it was how like 22 professional footballers produce something so bad, I do not know. And if they're like 9th or 10th, and we get on to Boreham Wood in a bit, obviously, how bad they were. But it just shows like 1-0 up. They just needed one massive bit of quality. And then the passing was still awful from us. But we get to how we lost it in a bit. But it just showed, actually, this league, apart from Wrexham and Notts County, and then Chesterfield, they should have done better this season, have a quality. And then there's a few teams like Woking have done well and solid. But it's a shocking league this year.
It's an awful quality league, but it's
awful. So much fun.
Quality league, but it's a tough league.
It's a tough league. Exactly, it's a tough
anybody
league.
Anybody can beat anyone. Yeah. Apart from Notts County and Wrexham.
Exactly, and the Boreham Wood game as well. Just a bit of experience. It's so avoidable this season. Like not just being in the bottom four and going down. It's so avoidable not being in the top half and going for playoffs. If it was just recruited properly, it's absolutely shocking. But that Dagenham, it was awful.
I mean, Dagenham, to put a bit of context, Dagenham have lost 3 of their best players, haven't they?
Yeah.
They're sort of bumbling around mid-table. I think
they've done what Solihull did.
The manager's trying to get a feel for the squad, and he's looking towards the summer. So I think their lack of oomph as a part of that. Their only decent player was Effie Young, and I could feel he was going to get a goal.
They got him from Aldershot, didn't they?
They did, and they were pretty poor. But every time he got involved, you felt he was going to do something, didn't you? And that was about all they could manage. And that's all they needed in the end.
It was so comfortable. Like, our passing was shocking as well. Like, it was like Colin. What I didn't get about that the weekend was it was a 4-4-2 and they're trying to play diagonal balls, fine. But Collins was never on the wing. So
he kept going inside, didn't he? All the time. I don't know. He knew where to be.
But Dawson was on the left-hand side doing his role more than him. It must have been some sort of instruction, but Collins had a really poor game. I thought, and that kind of just summed it up. It was so easy to win that game. It was. And Chris, any thoughts before we go into how it all dismantled?
Yeah, I just think it felt like a lot of the games have this season. You could almost feel it coming, couldn't you? When because we're in survival mode in the second half. You score a good goal. Good quality goal, a bit of quality in that first half, and it felt like we were waiting for it to happen. We kind of sat back and sat back.
Our press was pretty good, and I don't think we did sit back that much in the second half. We pressed decent. We were territorially.
We didn't attack, though, did we? Didn't attack, did we? We didn't get out.
They didn't get out of their half much for like first.
No, and that's what made it worse because they didn't look like scoring. If you look at the game, did Houser make a save? I don't think he did.
No. We actually managed it quite well, but of course they have one attack, and
it's that ability.
Marshall has a brain freeze.
Halstead and Marshall, especially Marshall on Saturday. Oh my god! So Ross Marshall, I was actually singing his praises for it because he was strong in the tackle before. I was like, oh my god, maybe. I keep telling myself all season, don't I? He's cost us so many goals. That for me was like, you're just.
He is capable of 70 good minutes, and then he'll do something silly. I remember Christian Pearce used to be a bit similar.
No, you can't even be the same set. Yeah, I get the comparison.
At a higher level, he used to play well, and then suddenly give away a silly penalty.
Ross Marshall's cost us another 3 points. There's no way of putting around it. He's an absolute fool. Honestly, it's a disgraceful. How you can do that is the penalties. Donovan got caught. It wasn't the worst, but the second goal was the worst bit. you're 1-1. Keep your head. It's in deep in stoppage time. All right, we're all frustrated, we're angry, we're not going to win. He's come charging to a ball that he's never going to get as a professional footballer. He's let his team down again, leaving a massive hole. Lawrence falling over. Halstead is pathetic on the second goal, and he didn't even bother diving properly with his hands up.
All the striker wanted to do was cut inside and shoot on his right foot. Everybody in Playmore could see that.
The mentality of those players is embarrassing, and I'm not letting last night change my mind much. Really,
I think the penalty it's easy. It's the sort of thing as a fan. I think it's very easy to be critical, and and at the time, and you just think it's an incomprehensible thing to do. But I think the problem is in that moment, we all have it in scenarios in life where in that split second you just panic because actually as soon as you cut inside, you're thinking, Christ, he's got inside me. He's got a free shot here, and you just react. And by the time you do that, it's too late. And of course, that's the difference between better players and does Virgil van Dijk do that? No,
especially
so it's having that ability to not do that. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But your decisions have got to be good at centre back because if you're midfield, you can get away with that in the centre circle.
If Aaron Downs does that,
you're in penalty area.
If Aaron Downs does that once in 80 appearances, we go, oh, okay, that's fair enough. But Marshall does it consistently every game at stupid points. He's lost his man so many times. He's been an absolute disaster, and he has the ability.
And I think Lawrence has been great, and he was good again against Boreham, but I don't think he covered
it. He did not do well in that goal. No,
all he had to do was hold his position and just try to stop him coming inside, or because all he would have taken would it be to get a little toe on it and jab it away, and that would probably have been it. Yeah, the whistle would have gone. That would have been it.
And Alsted's turning into Simon Rayner every time he's played Cambridge on that second goal. I don't know what on earth he's doing. He's just.
I think the problem is in those situations you expect the shot to go across you, don't you? So his weight was going across him. So then all he could do was just kind of flop because it was just it's gone to my right. Not I think you can kind of see he takes half a step, and of course all it takes is a split second. His balance is completely wrong when it's inside the near post, and
it was a catalogue of natural frustration, of course, of just errors and laziness and poor mentality.
If you look at those 4 games we've lost 2-1 every time.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
How many of those goals have been scored against could have been avoided? I'd imagine 8 or 9 of those. 8 of those. Because it's
absolutely stupid,
as you say. Yeah.
It was interesting. As we were trying to, I said to you, Dom, when we were filing to get out of the wonderfully designed Bristol's bench, Ben Streven, Dagger the manager, had come out, and he was just kind of stood. There was a bit of to and fro and going on the pop side, and I stopped and had a chat with him, and he said, I'm not making excuses for anybody here, but he said if you look at the players you guys have lost over the last couple of years and kind of reeled off some of the names, Connor, Marnie, all this sort of stuff, and I said, oh, absolutely, of course, the fan, I said, but I said to him, I think, and he kind of nodded and agreed. I said, I think the problem is that's nothing new for a club like us. We when you're a lower league club and you're a club like us, you get used to kind of bringing players on, regenerating, and then going again. But I said, but the problem is you have to go again. And when you've lost Whitfield, you've lost all of these players, then and if it might be a smaller budget post-COVID or owners or whatever, you have to reinvest well. You have to spend the money you've got well. And I said ultimately that's what's let us down, relegated. It's not Lewis going or Lemon ahead or any of that, because that happens. That's football. That's particularly at our level. But you've got to replace. I said you have to find the new heroes.
The failure to find you had a proper centre back alongside Lawrence. We would be.
It's not just like all right. We would never.
It's fine margins like that. You got to find proper players in these positions, haven't you?
It's a tough ask to replace.
You put Marshall in, he makes a mistake. He has one good game, then he plays another game, and he goes out again. He comes back in. We know he's not quite good enough, and he's been in and out of the team all season.
It's just here with him, though. This is why I get so annoyed by Ross Marshall, because he's so good at winning tackles. Just technique, like when he had that free header as well, and it bounced that way. It's just if he kept his calm,
that's the chance in it. That 1-0, that was the chance.
If he just kept his calm, he'd be okay.
The only defence for that header where he put wide is he was virtually in a standing position, so he had to get all of the pace and energy on the ball himself, didn't he? When it's coming across and you can just kind of flick it, it's easy. But he had to kind of get all of the power, didn't he? And in doing that, he lost some of the accuracy. But we had a couple of chances, didn't we? We had the one when
Frank's goal.
Yeah, we got somebody down the right. And all they had to do was it Collins? I think stops me. All he had to do was chip it over the defender. The keeper was committed, and I think it was Jarvis would have had a free header 5 yards out. We can't make that pass. All he had to do was just get it over the defender. And it was a free header. I don't know who was behind him. Was it Evans? Maybe somebody behind him had an open goal 5 yards out. We can't do it. It's little moments like that. It wasn't a hard ball. All you got to get it over the defender. It's easy for me to say. It's not a hard ball, but you've got to get it over the defender and it's in.
Yeah, it's easy for a professional footballer. Stubbs has shown signs at times. He's a workman-like player. He's no lack of effort, but my God, he had a bad second half against Dagenham. What happened in the 94th minute
I felt
to
a
him
bit
and
of sympathy
Donovan?
from his first half. He put a couple of really good
Not a lack
crosses
of effort at all.
and he also saved a cross off the line, didn't he? When they went through.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's definitely a player with potential there.
Yeah, no, there's something there, isn't there? I wouldn't.
But a couple of lovely goals in as well in the first half.
I mean, if Lewis Collins actually stayed at the back post during that game, then Stubbs could have had 2 or 3 assists.
But I have to say, and I've written sneak preview, I wrote an article last night after the game that the world hasn't seen yet, but I thought the shape was much better at Ballroom in terms of the players we had and and the shape that they were put in. I mean, it helps having an actually left-sided and actually right-sided defender in that situation in Donlan and Moxie. I mean, Donlan went off, but Omar did okay when he came on. But that just fitted those people. That 3-4-3 just fitted what you've got. It was bold. It was offensive.
I saw the lineup last night, and it looked stronger. I couldn't tell what he was going to do, but there was just more proper men involved.
Well,
and again, I have to say, Moxie was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, unbelievable! What a player.
On one leg, because he went down after half an hour and he thought, well, that's it, he's done again. But his mobility wasn't great in the second half.
Oh, he must be about 70% fit, I think, because I was watching him from Bristow's on Saturday, and he can barely run. I mean, he'll do his defensive duties, but he can.
What he's able to do is read his reading of the game gets him out of positions physically, and actually, I think he knows when he can. And there were a couple of situations where you thought, oh, he's gone, and all of a sudden he puts it in. You can get a spurt on and get a toe in or get a head on it. And I think because he can read the game, he knows when he can conserve energy.
If Ross Marshall could read a game, he would be a very decent defender. If Ross Marshall could read a game like Moxie, he'd be League Two.
Oh, absolutely.
I know, he has all the other traits.
But I mean, we've seen
played 18 years in the business.
Don't. Ross Marshall's had so many chances now.
And of course, we can see, we've seen players down the years. You think about players like Woodsy when his knees had gone, players like Craig Taylor, people like, and actually they were wonderful defenders, but actually they had no pace. And you come up against some opposition, you thought, oh, they're going to get done. The amount of times just a little nudge here or a little, to give him a little 2-yard head start to get on top of people and all of that sorts of stuff that Moxie's so good at. I mean, he was so good again last night, just so.
With the right coaching, I think Marshall could be a player because
physically he's all right, isn't he?
I think he's got a decent attitude. He's always up for a game, and he's always aggressive.
No discipline,
he wants to get involved. He wants to head the ball away, get tight. He just doesn't make the right decisions.
Frustrates me so much.
I do think he could be a good player, but he needs to develop.
And the reason we probably won last night is because we didn't have anyone making stupid lapses like he usually would.
Well, there was only 2 summer signings in the team last night, wasn't it? It was notable that. He's kind of shuffled them out to the side, doesn't he?
Crow, I know he's on the bench last night, but Crow's been nowhere near for ages, and McGavin, Hansen, McGavin.
I always think, and you only ever get this, if you think back historically, you only ever get this when a side has been struggling, has had a turnover players. If you look at the numbers of the players last night, it went 1 and then 8.
Yeah,
that tells you all you need to know because your squad numbers, your first 11 are players that you've got at the start of the season, generally speaking. So you went 1, 8, 9, 11, and then a few in the teens, 20s,
31,
40s.
45.
Exactly. So that tells you. I mean, Newble's obviously got something about that number, hasn't he? Because he's had it before. But yeah, you look at the numbers of the players, and that tells you all you need to know. That actually a lot of the players that we signed.
Very similar to the O's season, isn't it? By the end of the season, he had completely different players to the start, and he'd shuffled around and.
I would be intrigued to know why Marshall was absent last night as well.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah, he wasn't in the subs bench either, was he?
No, that would suggest he was probably injured, but I'd be surprised if they just kicked him out completely. But
he went down 70th minute, didn't he, with a bit of cramp? I don't know what that was, but I don't know. Maybe just given the night off. I'm not sure.
It's kind of like for me, no, you're right.
It goes to show you what an absolute mess the squad is as well, doesn't it? Because I took my 2 boys on Saturday, and we walked past Mensah and Fadahunsi at half time, and I'd almost forgotten Mensah, and I was thinking watching the game last night. I was thinking, crikey, what? We signed him. And that looked a good signing. Big, strong bloke. New into the club. We were struggling with centre backs at that time because Ness had gone and Ellis had gone, and he thought, and he's played He's played 45 minutes, a couple of minutes on the pitch a couple of times. And that's it. Now he can't even get on the bench ahead of Ali Omar.
That was an absolutely terrible 45 minutes.
Our position at right back, it's worth noting, I'd say.
Yeah, but he just didn't look like he could play football.
Well,
Chris.
no. I mean, the pitch was heavy over that side. I don't think it did him any favours, but yeah,
you
absolutely.
Are nice. You are. He was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, but you've got to try and see the context to it as well.
That doesn't mean you can't play football.
No, but why did we sign him? I mean, we remember paying him a lot, but we're paying him wages. He's barely played in months.
No point.
We're signing loan players that now can't get in the squad. Admittedly, that's because of the loan rule and all of this. But we're having to keep signing loan players because what we've got's not working. So you've now got players you've got on loan that can't get in the squad. That's mad.
You imagine following Torquay, not as much as
we what's going to be a great video
to play more and another new player turning up.
Yeah.
Like, who's that and who's this?
I'll tell you what's going to be great for the end of the season though, going through every single player that signed and appeared for us and then rating them and talking about them.
We did. Yeah, gracious.
What's that? 38 players now.
It's going to be a great video.
Asa will be up towards the top though as usual though.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what? It's interesting. My dad said I thought it, but my dad said it when he saw the goal for last night, and he said that's the classic Asa goal. That's an Asa goal.
It's like
he's right, actually,
goal, isn't it?
Just
it's
a kind of
goal,
header back
right
across.
Yeah,
the goal against Halifax, a goal scored, and I was thinking about the penalty at Bournemouth that season, and we got to the playoff final. I remember thinking at the time, I hope that's not a costly one when we missed the penalty in that first half. Whitfield then got injured, and I was thinking about that goal at that end when he'd scored. But yeah, nice little ball from Nouble. Dawson got around the outside, got the ball in the box, great header. Keeper ain't got one of the best keepers in the league, didn't have a chance, did he? And it was just a classic Asa goal, wasn't it?
Come off the hour. How often does he come back into the lineup and he'll suddenly grab a goal? He's done it plenty of times, hasn't he? Seems to just pop up, head one in, volley a shot. He'll find something, doesn't he? He's got 6 goals this season, hasn't he? So
how many games has he played?
Yeah,
can't be 20, 25, probably.
I think more than that. I think more than you think. But
I mean, he didn't play from March till January till 10 weeks.
Missed
probably
the last
10 weeks.
10, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like a Lampard kind of thing where they come into the box at the right time. It's just
no, it's a good goal. But actually, I mean, trying to be as objective as possible.
Great cross as well.
I think we did deserve the win last night. We had the chance in the first 2 minutes. That was, Evans did really well, hustled the bloke 1-on-1, barely got a touch on the ball, bounced back off the keeper. He's got a touch in an open goal and he missed, and you just thought, oh. But in hindsight, Solihull, we scored too early, didn't we? So maybe it worked enough.
But that was just embarrassing from Evans, and then especially Collins.
He did so well. All you got to do is then roll it past him. Collins' miss is worse, isn't it? Because anyone can miss 1-on-1. But he had the defender closing him in, but it was just one touch. All he had to do was just roll it, and he tries to blast it and scuffs it wide. I mean, it was just again, we had chances. The chance Nouble had just before half time. That chances like that the keeper got lucky actually because he got a firm hand on it, but it skewed off his wrist kind of back towards the goal. Only just went back over.
He should have spared it, but it's still a very good effort by Nouble. He's got some grip
on the game, didn't we? I mean, it sounds like the midfield controlling things. We had the tempo.
I really like Dawson.
Getting forward and attack. That's what you want, isn't it? It just needed more of this. A few games ago now, lads.
I think the key with last night was that Boreham. Beggars belief that they're 7th in the league, because I mean, in terms of actual quality, they had there's direct and then there's direct. I mean, Gary said in his interview after the game, what you're going to have to do is defend the box, and what you got to do is deal with it. And he said they talked to the players about concentration and everything, but the second half when they're chasing a goal, there's always a tendency to go a bit longer, but there's long and then there's left back just diagonal ball into our penalty area every time. They didn't attempt to play any football at all.
I didn't feel threatened by them. How worried I am of that. I just didn't. You
always thought they might score.
We always worry more when we've got mobile people against us.
Absolutely,
Like when Barnet played against us, they tried to go direct, and we're like, "Well, this is all right. We can cope with this." It's when we get clever, smaller players against us, we struggle to deal with.
Absolutely, and that's why the middle of the midfield was key, because actually Dawson and Hall could just bully their 2 players, and they could stick their foot in. They didn't have to try and play the ball. They went kind of percentages down the channels just to kind of win the ball and get it out. And that was the thing, but they were just so direct. When Donlan went off, you thought, and Omar came on, you thought, but fair play to Omar, he did really well. The only threat we had 3 times in the second half, they had corners. We got the first contact and he got headed out, and we left a bloke on his own on the edge of the box. The best chance they had, the shot that got fizzed back across, and Halstead got down and made a save, and then there was a foul in the follow-up. But 3 times the same bloke was left on his own. But other than that, there was the odd cross.
Omar's actually done it. quite well at times this season. It's hard to
he was solid.
work out his season. I mean, he's obviously not a good player, is he? But he will come in for 30 minutes here and do quite well. And you think, okay.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And
he
did well last night.
He doesn't even look like a footballer, does he?
The game plan last night was brilliant from Johnson and Kyrie. But, it was they
again, as I've said before, though, that was probably Omar's sort of game. Omar's games when he's got somebody up against him, and he can have a fight with them. It's pace and it's people like Notts County popping the ball all around him. And it's gone before he's kind of realised.
He's almost got to pick and choose his games, Omar, isn't he? He can be all right in some, but then you look at other games, you think, oh God, they're going to be too clever for you here. That's it. So.
No, absolutely. I mean, when he came on, he did all right again. And, I thought Newblay worked hard. I don't think he's the most mobile player in the world. He doesn't look the most naturally fit player in the world.
Jarvis will do right.
But it's having two, I thought on Saturday and then again last night, having two centre forwards up front, just a bit of power, a bit of physicality, a bit of, and again, he had the chance, but he worked his socks off. And
I think it's back to basics a bit, Chris, isn't it? Two dogged midfielders right in the middle, winning your scraps, winning the ball, keeping it simple. Big guys up front, don't trying to think too clever. Just be competitive and win your battles, lads. And I think that's a big part of it. And then concentrating.
And he even managed to have a fight with Tyrone Marshall. Wasn't even playing.
We could have won 3 or 4 of these games in the last month. And that's so frustrating that we could have just. Yeah, angers me. We could have done better here, and it's. I think this is the situation we're in.
It was an odd feeling after the game last night because obviously you're happy you got the win. The other results didn't go our way. Let's be honest. We were no further.
We're realistically 9 points from Dorking now because Gates said I reckon Yeovil in so much for Ulmer. Imagine Yeovil and Torquay in the South Bank.
Yeovil can't score any goals.
They're in big trouble now. They are because Gates said I've won 2 in a row. I've got 2 games in hand. It's just like Dorking are picking up results well.
But if you look at some of the sides if you look at the 4 away wins we've got this season, Southend, they're having a bad run, but they're top half. Halifax, they're bottom third, but they've had good phases. Dagenham, always a tough game, middle of the table, not a poor side. And then last night, well, we haven't actually gone to anybody any good and won.
Yeah.
Sorry, who's not any good, I should say, and won. All these games have been games like last night. We had no right to win that game. I'll take the assist because I predicted we'd lose, and that's never a thing. So.
Actually.
But you just could see no way with their their defence, the way we've been playing, the way we were able to concede a goal at a whim. I just didn't see a way we could go there and win. But actually, having watched the game, it was totally deserved.
Scoring the first goal as well, wasn't it? We haven't done that much away from home this season. No.
And actually, what we've not done is get the second enough, which we didn't do last night, funnily enough. The Barnet game at home. Yeah. The second goal we didn't get, but actually, for once, we didn't need it because if you keep a clean sheet, you've got a chance.
But the crazy stat that we've scored in 16 consecutive games. I mean, that's ridiculous.
14, but yeah.
16.
14, I think.
15.
Torquay Stats had it 16 today.
Oh, did they? Oh dear. You best change the article I wrote then. But this is the thing. We've always been good for a goal. This is the thing, but it's the ability to keep clean sheets. What's that?
That's a really strange stat to me because usually
we could have scored
1-0, 2-0.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're on.
They tend to sort of give up on games and you lose 1-0.
One last thing of a first part, Yellow Army, incredible.
Yeah.
Charlie Baker and TalkSport there as well. I hope they had a nice time.
They should have stayed a bit longer because Gary said he'd have bought them all a burger and a Coke if they were still here.
Yeah.
So it's phenomenal, isn't it? I have to say that at a time when we're maybe going over the league, but the fans were great.
That 1-0 was unbelievable. Yeah, you think we're in the playoffs.
And although there's no doubt that the origins of this National League TV have been from the guys at Wrexham, but it's a really good service.
It's very good. Really
easy to buy, really easy to do.
Yeah, it works brilliantly.
Negotiable and it's great. You log in, the quality of it's good. There's commentary.
It's great.
It is really good. And just one last thing on Boreham, which was an interesting comment Gary made, was he said what the players did well with the help of the fans was to create an atmosphere. Because he said, with the greatest respect, you come here and there's no atmosphere. It's not like a lot of grounds where you can feed off the atmosphere like playing at Playmore, where there's always a bit of a buzz and a couple of thousand people, but he said you come here and there's no atmosphere. But you've got to make that yourself, and that's hard at times.
It's not like going to a big ground like Notts or whatever. And
like Saturday, there'll be an atmosphere, won't there?
You'll stand out at Boreham, won't you? And you can make a noise and make yourself heard easily. So, great effort. I mean, spirit. I couldn't believe it on Saturday. I thought the fans would be more down, but they were pretty vocal for most.
Oh, it was unbelievable on Saturday.
Yeah, still cheering, still shouting.
We'll always be there. But yes, thank you for watching part one. You've asked us questions. Got a lot of reading to do, and we've got a lot of discussing really good questions as well. So we'll see you in part two.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Banyan. Sells.